On this upcoming Attractions episode, we're talking Space Force, plus the new trailer for Extraction. Also, reviews for Escape at Dannemora and Coffee and Kareem, plus the MDF Game. All this and more on this upcoming Attractions episode of Midnight Double Feature.
Matthew, welcome back to another episode of Upcoming Attractions.
Stop trying to make that a t-shirt. It's not going to happen.
It's already a t-shirt and I'm wearing it. How you doing, dude? What's happening?
I'm okay. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, dude. You guys, if you don't know, we are scraping the bottom of the barrel. Escape at Dannemora and Coffee and Kareem. Those are the big reviews today. So strap in.
Are they both Netflix projects?
Coffee and Kareem is a Netflix project, and Escape at Dannemora is not. That aired on Showtime. Like, that is an actual.
Oh,
network.
That is definitely scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Fucking Showtime.
But look, let's dive right into it, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here at Midnight Double Feature. Like I said, this is an upcoming Attractions episode. We're going to be going through the latest news, trailers. We're going to be going through a couple of things that we've seen, and then we're going to be playing what's called the MDF Game, where we ask you a question on our social media in our after party, which is our Facebook group. Basically, we just pose a question there. We ask the community to chime in. We post a little poll, get a little vote, get a little community sense as to what everyone's feeling. This week's question's a bit of a doozy. It's, what is your favorite film scene of all time? That was intentionally vague and intentionally... I wanted to make it as wide as possible to see what we'd get, and we got some pretty good ones. We're going to be revealing those soon. So please, if you'd like to get involved in that, that's the after party. That's our Facebook group. We're also on Twitter, which is at MDF Pod, and we're on Instagram, which is at Midnight Double Feature. And we currently still have a little bit of a competition going at the moment, where if you rate and review us on iTunes, screenshot that review and send it to midnightdoublefeature@gmail.com, you can go in the running to win your very own feature presentation episode. And what that means is Colin and I, and either Danny or Matt or both, doesn't, it might even just be me and Colin. You don't have a say in that, by the way. You don't get
Way to
choose.
sell it.
Yeah, you don't get to choose. So, you know what? You're stuck with one of us, or both, the two of us at least. But yeah, if you send that review and your pick, then we'll cover your movie. And those are very lengthy. Those are 2 to 3 hours long. Sometimes they're even longer than 3 hours. It's just, Colin and I usually riffing on a weekend about a particular movie. And if you'd like to hear your movie covered, then feel free to rate and review us on iTunes and send it to midnightdoublefeature@gmail.com. Matthew, what is our first topic this week?
Our first topic this week is not a common occurrence. I want to rant about something positively, which I don't do much. I really want to talk about these photos released for Space Force, the new comedy show coming to Netflix. How aware are you of this project?
I know quite a bit about this show. I'm actually, I think you're coming into this a little late based on your...
I've known about it for a while, but I'm going to be honest, when I first heard about it, I was like, this is fucking dumb. And then these photos came out and this is the most hyped I've been for a comedy TV show in a long time.
Yeah, talk to me. Tell me why.
All right. So, from the looks of things here... Okay, so for those who aren't familiar, it's a slight riff on the Space Force established in real life by Trump, and this is their comedic take on whatever that is, because even most people today still don't know what that is. And I can really see at these images where they're going to take this, and I'm just looking at this is genius. Plus, because I'm seeing an amazing cast where everyone's sort of staying in their lane of the type of character they are known for playing so well. And let's just go through this, man. I just want to talk to it probably person by person, and then let's just bounce off each other like that. Also, we should say it's co-created by Steve Carell and The Office's Greg Daniels. So already people known for comedy. Will this be done in the style of The Office? I'm guessing not, but either way, about the format, I don't care. It's still comedy. Okay, so first of all, we got Steve Carell. who we all know and love. And from the vibe of this, man, I'm getting like he's going to be really tapping into his character from The Office. Was it Michael? What's his last name again?
Don't you fucking do this to me. I
That's right.
can't. I will not. You know what? I'm done. Fuck this episode. See you later. I'm out. I'm out, ladies and gentlemen.
Michael.
Dude,
what is
Michael
it again?
Scott.
That's it. I was gonna say Scan because that's the
Just don't. Okay.
But that happens. That happens in The Office, right?
Ladies
That
and
is
gentlemen,
still a
Midnight Double
reference.
Feature is hiring for another co-host.
Okay, so like with the genius of Michael Scott, that's it. Sorry, it's been a long day. The genius of that character in The Office was, he's he wants as much of a jokester as he is often trying to like be the best and trying to be respected, and no one ever takes him seriously. And like that's one of the many sources of his like outbursts and stuff. And with a lot of these photos, you can already see that coming out. And I'm guessing this is the direction the show's going to go. Like nobody takes Space Force seriously as a branch of the government. And there's multiple photos here where he just looks like really unimpressed. And I'm like, oh my God, we're going to get some Michael Scott flavor coming back. And if that's the direction of like the engine of this show, like I'm just double on board, man.
But all right, here's something I got to say about Steve Carell's character. He is playing a general, so he's not going to be playing like the dumbass that Michael Scott is.
So he's earned his position, and they comedically touch on that with he has got way too many like badges of honor on his jacket, which I think is kind of funny. So yeah, so he's a general. You're saying,
right? Yeah, he's a general. Let's move on. Let's speed this up a little. John Malkovich and Ben Schwartz. So I know you want to talk about Ben Schwartz.
Oh man, well, Ben Schwartz really ties into this because he's been like the goofball in all these photos. But obviously, it looks like he's touching on his like that Jean-Ralphio vibe that we love from Parks and Rec. I love him and everything he does. It's amazing. And a lot of these, like, there's this one photo here where he's got a phone and he's sort of like looking like kind of like and well, like we've got Steve Carell like so you can get a scene together with those sounds. And John Malkovich.
This is heavy analysis. I love it.
Yeah, we got it there. You know what, though? I think some people out there are like, oh, yeah, I get what he's saying. John Malkovich, though, I will admit, is the curveball for me. Has he done much comedy in the past?
Well, I mean, he's a comedic actor, isn't he? I mean, Parks and Rec.
Is he? I don't recognize him from it.
Dude, who are you talking about?
No, not Ben Schwartz. John Malkovich.
Oh, John Malkovich. Yeah, no, he's done his fair share of comedies, dude. I mean, like he's the funniest. Okay, so he's not really in comedies, but he is the funniest parts of the movies that he's in. Like, let's say,
I get you. Yeah.
Like, okay, for some reason, the only movie that's coming to my head is Red, with Bruce Willis and Helen Mirren and Morgan Freeman, and he was the best part in that movie.
Right.
You can pick out as many John Malkovich movies as you want. I mean, he was in the god awful Transformers movie as well. So, but yeah. I mean, like he's definitely got chops for sure.
Yeah, I'm getting the vibe he's like some sort of authority figure or some sort of scientist. Do you know if there's any information about his character out that you know?
He's
about? Playing
a scientist.
Yeah, that makes sense. Speaking of scientists, we have Jimmy O Yang also in a white coat. He's I love him. He's great in Silicon Valley. He's also a great stand-up comedian. We saw him in the Boston bombing movie, Patriots Day, is it? Patriots Day?
Patriots Day.
Yeah. Patriots Day. I'm low-key hoping he doesn't do an accent in this because he has in the past and he's been stereotyped, but either way, he'll be hilarious. He's real funny. Then of course we've got probably the next big one is Lisa Kudrow, Phoebe from Friends. And I've got... Do you know if they've announced anything about her character? Because I haven't read anything, but I've got a theory.
No, I don't, dude. Honestly, I have not been following this as hard as I should be. So
I'm guessing I'm getting a major Hillary Clinton vibe from her.
No,
just
she's not playing Hillary. She's playing someone named Maggie.
No, it'd be a made up character, but okay. I'm wondering if she's like a politician or I'm not gonna say president, but you never know. I'm guessing she's some sort of authority figure as well. But come on, it's great to see her in a lead role in a sitcom style comedy again.
Yeah, for sure.
I know I've seen her do like guest spots in a lot of comedies and stuff.
I don't want to go past Noah Emmerich. Noah Emmerich is a pretty big actor as well. He's from Super 8. He's from The Americans, his TV show as well. He's always a good presence, dude. I love that guy.
And then is there anyone else left, or was that?
Yeah, dude. I'm surprised you didn't mention this one. From How Did This Get Made? Jessica St. Clair.
Oh, right. Yes, hilarious, amazing, love her. What else is there to say?
She's a bit loud. She's a bit loud for my taste. Like I'm just like, oh god, I don't know, man. I'm just like, she's like the female Mantzoukas.
Look, I know what you mean, but I'm a loud person as well, so I'm often drawn to those personalities.
Yeah, you and I are like polar opposites, I think.
we can be at times. That is there's a lot of truth to that statement.
I just want to go. Okay, I want to give a little bit of a speculation here. I don't want to spend too much time on this as well, but this the first season is only 10 episodes, which kind of leads me to think that A, they're spending a lot of money on this, and therefore they can only afford 10 episodes, or B, this is going to be a little dramatic as well. Like there's going to be some drama in it too. So, I mean, like, it's not like The Office that has 22 episodes or, 15 episodes or something like that. It's just a straight up 10 episode thing, which makes me question the runtime of each episode. If it's going to be like a 20-minute episode like The Office, then 10 episodes is just not going to cut it for me. I'm just like, dude, I need more of this, So what do you think about that?
I think that's an interesting point. The fact that it's airing on Netflix means so much of what we can safely speculate goes out the window, because Netflix, they don't follow the rules of standard broadcast. But usually when you see a 10 episode or something around that thing on Netflix, you're usually looking at hour-long shows.
Right.
Usually looking at hour-long shows. You are looking at more of those interweaving stuff. But when I look at these colors and this vibe, it looks like a half-hour comedy to me. This is just based off some still images and almost no information.
Yeah, we haven't seen a trailer or anything, so maybe let's just hold off for a bit before we get the tone and vibe of it all.
Yeah, but I'm assuming it's a half-hour comedy, and I think you could be right. There's a lot of names in here, Ben Schwartz was literally just Sonic the Hedgehog. I imagine John Malkovich is not cheap to come by too, and yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Lisa Kudrow is not a main character. I have a feeling she could be like a reoccurring character.
No, she's billed as recurring. She's not a main character. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense then. Yeah, she was the same with BoJack Horseman, which was also a Netflix project. I've noticed a lot of Netflix-funded shows often use the same actors. I wonder if that happens in their contracts or something. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I don't want to go past one of the writers of episode 9. He's the sole writer, Paul Lieberstein. If you remember that name, he plays Toby from The Office.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
It's pretty cool. He's a very talented writer, I think.
Yeah. Look, normally on Midnight Double Feature, we don't cover casting. We are sort of scraping a little bit because of the current situation. But what I want to say also is, usually when you see like a sitcom or a comedy show, it's the way they usually do casting is it's usually a vehicle for one big comedic actor, and the rest are like unknowns or upcoming stuff. That's usually the case. This is like the first one I've seen in a while where it's like, oh, I recognize almost everyone in this. Almost everyone here. So that's like pretty like cool. And just by these photos, it looks like a lot of them are playing very familiar type roles. And I think that's just like really exciting. So that's why I wanted to cover that. And thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And I can't wait for a trailer. Yeah,
no, I'm keen as well. Let's move on to the next item of discussion. We have a trailer for a movie called Extraction, starring Chris Hemsworth and produced by Joe and Anthony Russo. Real quick, here's my take on it. Snooze. Total snooze.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm getting 21 Bridges vibes, which is like well-made B-movie.
Forgettable action film is the way I would have put
Forgettable action film, but well done for a forgettable action film. Like, I wouldn't call it Angel Has Fallen level or Mile 22. It's like a Sunday night at the movies type thing. You know, I don't expect it to be amazing. It looks up my alley. I think the action looks like it's well directed from what I can see, but the trailer doesn't have a lot of that. Yeah, like don't expect this to change the industry or anything crazy like that. But you know what? A lot of Chris Hemsworth's projects outside of Thor haven't really grabbed my attention. This one has made me, I'm not going to say it grabbed my attention, but it like nudged my attention. If that even makes any sense. It was like, oh, okay, it comes to Netflix. I guess I'll watch it. Cool.
Well, I mean, okay, look, here's my thing. It's a first-time director, Sam Hargrave, first-time director, but here's what I love about the Russo brothers. They're giving this guy, Sam Hargrave, a shot at directing because Sam Hargrave was the stunt coordinator on most of the Marvel movies. From Endgame, Infinity War, Ragnarok, even Atomic Blonde, Suicide Squad, right? Dipping waters into DC there. Civil War, and then it just keeps going through even like the Wolverine and stuff. Like he's a big time stunt guy. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the action scenes are well staged and stuff like that. But it's always interesting to see how a first time director handles their first movie, especially an action movie like this, which might be decently budgeted. I'm guessing it's somewhere to 30, 45 million mark. Like it's not like it's a $10 million indie movie or anything like that. But yeah, and Chris Hemsworth makes like some really weird choices sometimes. Like, okay, look, this isn't a weird choice, but he was in a movie called Black Hat, sorry. And Black Hat is directed by Michael Mann, who is a fucking legend, right? He directed Collateral and Heat. So, you know, if you're wanting to sign up to a movie, it's probably best to sign up to a movie directed by Michael Mann. But that movie is regarded as Michael Mann's biggest flop. Like, that is not a good movie. It's barely coherent. And then, you know, Chris Hemsworth, I don't know, like I don't really know where he's going with his kind of career. Like, you know, sometimes he dips his toes into comedy, sometimes he dips into action territory, and even like sometimes it's sci-fi with Men in Black and stuff. But I haven't really got a. I feel like Hollywood hasn't really figured out how to use him yet beyond Thor.
I'm glad you mentioned this because I was just about to say. I was just thinking. I think writers might have trouble writing for him. Or it's hard to find scripts that appeal to all his talents in one. Because, like, we know he can do comedy really well. And he looks like an action star. So it makes sense to put him in an action comedy. But I think the only other action comedy outside Thor I can think of is the god-awful Men in Black International. Outside of that, he's either done really serious sort of action drama or he's done straight-up comedy. And he does good in the straight-up comedy, but he's never a lead role. He's always like a surprise cameo or something, and he'll have a supporting part. But in action, it's like it's just this really over-the-top serious. I think this is like his second military film. I think he's done, and like those are never gonna like blow people away. You know, it's like Jared Butler. So it's a role you'd expect Jared Butler to take. You know. So I think like...
I mean, sometimes they work, right? Like, I really enjoyed 13 Hours, which is the Michael Bay military thriller. You know, I kind of have an affinity for military thrillers as well, like, you know, Lone Survivor with Mark Wahlberg and stuff like that. So if they're done well, if they're written well, if they're directed well, if they're shot well, you know, it has the potential to be engaging, but I didn't really get that from this trailer.
Nah, I know what you mean. Yeah, for sure. I think like he should be like taking the scraps from Dwayne Johnson. Like, you know, the type of roles that Dwayne Johnson takes are the type of roles he should do. Because not only can he do comedy and do action well, but I think Chris Hemsworth has a chance of being more relatable as well. Like, I think he has that in him. So I really wish I could see him doing those type of projects. But I think he also, like, he's the type of actor who wants to do stuff that he thinks is personally cool. Like, I don't think he's chasing the money for a lot of these projects. I think he goes, oh, fuck yeah, that sounds cool, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. He's not my BFF. I wish he was, but he doesn't reply to my texts. So I can't tell you personally.
Honestly, man, like, if he doesn't need a movie career, you know? If he looks the way he doesn't need a fucking movie career, dude. He's got life fucking set, you know? Oh, shit. All right, man.
Oh, man.
That's Extraction. Are we seeing this? We're seeing this, right? for saying it. Yeah.
It's on Netflix. I'd be dumb not to watch it. Like, unless I don't know what else is on Netflix.
Yeah. What else is there to do? But all right, man. Let's get into our reviews of the episode. I'm gonna kick it off with Escape at Dannemora.
So you're a 51-year-old woman who's been with the same man for 20 years, 21 years. So we can have an adult conversation.
Okay.
Did you have sex with these two inmates?
No.
I just figured you're friends with my friend. That makes us friends.
What's going on with you and Tilly?
Maybe we can arrange a get-together soon.
I'm down there every night. I'm cutting the pipe. I'm doing the work, and all you do is sleep.
Nobody knows about a marriage except the people in the marriage, and sometimes even they don't know.
So you want to be part of my dream?
Yes.
Say it.
I want to be a part of your dream.
Escape at Dannemora is a prison drama. It's a prison escape series. It's a mini-series. It's 7 episodes long. It aired on Showtime, I believe, last year. Started last year. And here's the fascinating thing. All 7 episodes are directed by Ben Stiller. The show is created by Ben Stiller.
Oh, that show. Okay,
Yeah.
now I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah. And it's based on a true story about two convicts who successfully escaped from Dannemora prison. And the casting in this is absolutely insane. It's Benicio del Toro, who plays, goddamn, let me get the name up here, Richard Matt, real life prisoner Richard Matt, Patricia Arquette, who played Tilly Mitchell, and Paul Dano, who played David Sweat. And then, the supporting cast is rounded out by Bonnie Hunt and David Morse. Dude, this show is astounding. Like, it is absolutely incredible what Ben Stiller was able to pull off here. This is 7 hours worth of content. And
Yeah.
I started and finished it this weekend, dude. It is gripping from start to finish. Benicio del Toro and Paul Dano are fantastic, but I think the real MVP here is Patricia Arquette, who put on so much weight to play this actress, to play this person. Like, she's absolutely unrecognizable. It's actually insane. Like, these are very unlikable characters. Richard Matt, Tilly Mitchell, and David Sweat. They are not likable people. But the show does a good job of equalizing who you're supposed to feel sorry for and who you're not really supposed to feel sorry for. Because by the end of this, I mean, look, here's a spoiler, right? Guys, spoiler alert, if you're planning on watching this, all of our reviews are spoiler alerts. If you've heard the sound clip, then you know spoilers are coming. Matt, are you going to watch this? Because I'm going to basically ruin this for you.
Spoil it anyways. All
right, well, this is, you can find this pretty easily because it's pretty public. So in real life and in the show, the guys managed to escape with the help of Patricia Arquette's character, Tilly Mitchell, and they end up spending a few weeks on the run. They end up in the mountain region in the forest, and Richard Matt ends up killed by the police. He goes out on a high note, and David Sweat ends up being recaptured. But the way it's done and the way it's told, it sounds very simple, but it's actually really interesting to see how these two prisoners were able to manipulate this person who worked at the prison in order to achieve their ends. And then it's also really interesting to see the interplay between Richard Matt and David Sweat as they, make their getaway and they start to, their trust starts to break down. They're like, okay, in the prison, we trust each other to get out, but here in the wild, it's dog eat dog. And it's just engrossing to watch, and it's just absolutely fascinating, and I couldn't recommend it any higher, man. This is one of the best miniseries I've ever seen, and it's definitely not going to get a second season because it's obviously based on a true story, and that story is over. So yeah, Escape at Dannemora. Probably give it. It is a little slow, so I'm not going to give it 10 out of 10. It is a slow burn. If you're not into shows that take their time, if you're not into shows that, there's no shootouts. You know what I mean? Like there's no crazy foot chases, there's no car chases or anything like that. It's just three main central characters and the interplay between each of these characters and the manipulation that happens between the two prisoners and the one civilian. That's what you're there for, you know? This is a 9.5 out of 10. Pretty close to perfect, man. Ben Stiller did an absolutely fantastic job with this show.
Awesome. Cool. I'll have to check that one out. It sounds like a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome.
It is a lot, and it's heavy. But I mean, like I said, 7 episodes, pretty easy to bang out.
Fuck yeah. All right. Well, on that note, let's keep this train moving. I saw Coffee and Kareem, which is right now on Netflix. Let's check it out. Woo.
You didn't sound too excited just then.
Kareem needs to go by a friend's house after school, and he asked that you pick him up.
When my mom dated this one guy, and we became BFFs.
You were BFFs with a grown-ass man? There's literally documentaries on Netflix about why that's so sick and fucked up.
I think that's a different...
You expect us to be BF? Fuck out of my face, man.
Good talk.
So, Coffee and Kareem. I'll just come out and say this. If you look at the reviews on this film, it's not doing too well. It's... I can't remember what it was in Rotten Tomatoes, but it's pretty fucking low. But I want to say this. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's actually... I legitimately enjoyed the film. It's not the funniest movie I've ever seen. It's not going to change your fucking life. But I legitimately enjoyed it. So I was really surprised when I heard it was getting really negative reviews. Basically, it's clearly low budget, but starring Ed Helms, kind of typically doing his awkward shtick that he normally does. And he's a cop who's too scared to stand up for himself or, be aggressive or anything. And he's partnered with his girlfriend's, I think it's 12-year-old son named Kareem. And together they've got some gangsters out to kill them, and they have to save the day, and they have to figure out the which cop is dirty. You know that storyline. It's been done a million times.
Sounds garbage. I'm sorry. This sounds like something that I've seen 800 million times before.
Well, it is. It's a very typical buddy cop, generic. That you can tell the screenwriters aren't trying to do anything new or revolutionary, right? And so you have to. I think even when you just look at the poster, you know that already. So you go in knowing they're not going to try and do anything new. So a film like this lives and dies on its laughs. If you come to see a movie like this for the plot, you're not watching the movie correctly. That's what I think, right? You got to judge a film based on what it's trying to do and does it do that effectively. I don't think it's fair to judge a Quentin Tarantino movie by the same standards you would judge some fucking shitty movie that's like an indie feature, or something. So, I try and judge this movie based on I'm not expecting the plot to surprise me or be good, right? So I'm just you're a comedy movie, make me laugh. And a lot of the jokes land. It's not perfect, though. Definitely. I think they reuse a lot of, gay jokes, which feel like they're a bit 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And I think every now and then there are some good ones that make me laugh, but they kind of keep going back to the same well. And it's guys, move on, right? And so that's a bit, there. The plot's very generic and all that. But what saves this film and what I really like is this movie has some strong performances. This kid is funny as shit. I want to credit him credit. Terrence Little Gardenhigh. He is funny as hell. But the MVP of this is what's her name? Her name is Betty Gilpin, who we recently saw in another bad film, The Grudge. She also stars in The Hunt. But she, towards the end, is a scene stealer. Maybe not just for comedy chops, but just her presence is really great. And another actress, again in the third act, and I'm going to get into this. Her name is, I think it's Taj P. Henson, who plays Taraji, P. Henson. She plays the girlfriend. She fucking crushes in the third act. Really, those two women, they really in the third act really just take over. And that's my biggest problem with the film. Actually, in the third act, the main character, Coffee, I forget his first name, but his last name's Coffee. by Ed Helms, he actually starts taking a backseat to the plot, and that's really the character that should be coming most forward. Now, sure, he's coming back because other characters are being really funny, but they also start taking up all the screen time. And I think while individually as a scene, it's funny, it's great to watch, but as a narrative whole, it kind of ends up denting and not being in favor for the film. But yeah, overall, if you want something to chuckle at when you got nothing better to do, Coffin Kareem, it's a good laugh. I'm gonna give it like a 6.5 out of 10. Just because mostly it's got some pretty strong, some pretty charismatic, I should say, maybe not strong, but charismatic performances by most of the main cast, which I really was surprised by. Definitely not as bad as a lot of other reviewers make it out to be, in my opinion, but it's still not great.
Yeah, I think you just have a higher tolerance for this stuff. I'm not saying that your taste is any different to anyone else's, but I know you kind of like the low key sort of like buddy cop films, right?
Yeah, I'm partial to it. I'd say, yeah.
Yeah,
I think I'm a big champion for comedy. I think I really like comedy stuff in particular. So, but I don't know. I don't know. I do have. I am definitely more tolerant of shitty films than you are. I can find the pros when I can find the bright side to things. I think a bit easier than you can sometimes. So I'm not as critical sometimes, but
yeah, I mean, for me, it's just if it's not engaging to me, then I'm just gonna see you later. I'm not gonna. I've given you the time, and clearly my time has not been rewarded. So I don't know. But anyway, man,
and that's fair, man. I would say with any film, right? If you and this is my biggest problem with a lot of films, I would say, probably the biggest sin is to not keep your plot moving forward. If you pause your film to fucking explain some bullshit, or I don't know, if your plot's not moving forward, that's my number one sin, I think. Because when I know films that do that, all of a sudden it's why the fuck am I here?
See, this is funny actually that you're saying this, because I see you're more of a plot person. I think I'm a bit more of a character person.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm fine with whatever plot you give me. Just make the characters interesting and fun to watch. Okay, let's take Escape at Dannemora, for example, right? Not the greatest plot. It's, let's just, remove it from the fact that it is based on real life. Not the greatest plot, right? It's a prison escape, series. But the characters are the interesting ones, and they're the ones that make you come back to this show after 7 episodes. Whereas if it was the other way around, if it was kind of boring characters trying to get out of a prison, boring characters doing something the plot is actually exciting or interesting, then I just, I wouldn't be able to engage with it.
For me, I can be like that, but I think it varies from what it is a lot of the time. Obviously with the TV show, it's okay to slow it down every now and then. You got to get me to like the characters, or at least understand them. For example, if a comedy film isn't being funny, you failed, right? Especially if you pause your plot to do a joke. And same with a horror film.
Funny is
one of the biggest,
right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But for example, one of the biggest offenders from recent history a movie we both hated was The Nun, right? And one of my big problems was that it's the whole middle section was like a nightmare or a dream, and it went for multiple scenes. It for 20 minutes, okay, none of this was scary and none of it advanced the plot. What the fuck have I been doing here for 20 minutes? I watched a 20-minute long deleted scene,
Yeah.
That's often a big problem for me. Or, if I just don't like a character. That's why I was so nice to this film. Yeah. Because I liked the performances of the actors. I found them charismatic enough to maintain my attention.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I think comedy is the hardest, obviously, to pull off. But here's an example, a really recent example. I just tried showing Jojo Rabbit to my my dad and my brother, and it did not go over well in my house. Like
Really? Why?
I mean, I think you kind of need to be dialed into that kind of sense of humor. Like, you kind of need to be okay. Well, because firstly, they're going in with the with the assumption that this is going to be a war movie, right? Like, I mean, this is going to be about Hitler, blah blah. So, I was like, no, you need to just come in with a clean slate, blah blah. It is obviously set in 1940s Germany, but that's not really what this is about. That's not the kind of movie. And like my brother's like, oh, I've seen this over 1,000 times, blah blah. So I don't know. I think there's certain comedians and certain writers that appeal to different people. Like, I obviously love Jojo Rabbit, and my friend Damien saw Jojo Rabbit the same weekend as my brother and my dad did, and they loved it. So, it's weird. Like, the comedy plays to different age groups and different demographics, but yeah. And
you know what? Actually, recently, and I won't spend too long on this, but we've got time here. I don't know why I did this, but I attempted. I didn't watch all of it, but I tried to. The terrible Sherlock and Holmes. I tried watching it. And I'm like, surely it can't be as bad as they say. Oh, it's called
Holmes and Watson, by the way.
Holmes and Watson.
You're
sorry.
so bad with
I said Sherlock and Holmes. I said
that's one. Sherlock and Holmes is one person. Like, that's a first and last name.
Yeah, I realized that. It's like, hey, we're hanging out with Matt and Bella and Zohaib and Ali. Yeah. But oh man, it is incredibly terrible. And what was interesting, and nothing's interesting about this movie, but I kept trying to like watch it like, why is this movie so bad? And I kept trying to figure it out, and like, I think a lot of it was, the writers aren't trying to come up with anything new or interesting. Like, they were using jokes you've heard before a lot. But also, I think like the actors were putting in these accent, right? And by doing that, I kind of like, they were losing what makes them interesting actors, because they're not great at doing these accents. And I feel like that might have been part of it. Like, but oh man, terribly written. Probably the worst comedy I've seen.
So I've heard. But anyway, man,
it's so bad.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the MDF game, right?
Woo!
This week's, like I said, was a big one. And if you want to get involved in the MDF games for the future, please join our Facebook group, The After Party. That's 3 words, The After Party. So the question was, what is your favorite movie scene of all time? And again, I left it very vague because you can kind of interpret scene to be, I don't know, a lot of people get it mixed up with sequences. Sequences are a bit longer. They're kind of like, half an act or something like that, but that's not really what I'm going for here. Like, a scene to us is clear, right? Like, you know what a scene is.
It has a start and an end. It usually takes place in the one location.
Right. But like sometimes it might be confusing. Like, for example, if you have Avengers Endgame, right? I don't consider the final fight to be a scene. I consider that a sequence. And I think throughout that scene, they break it up into throughout that sequence, they break it up into different sequences. Scenes. Fuck. Like, for example, Captain Marvel fighting Thanos in that particular sequence is a scene. Like, that's what I consider that.
It's interesting because you could also argue that is a moment over a scene as well. Like, I know exactly what you mean, and I'm not disagreeing with you. Because I've heard different things. Like, I've heard in screenwriting, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, well, a scene has to be in the same location. And like, that's not true, because like, say for example, comedies, like something like Family Guy, you could do a cutaway. You're telling me that's 3 scenes? If they're in one scene, there's a cutaway to another scene, then you cut back to the same scene. You're not going to tell me that's 3 scenes. That's 1 scene. In my opinion, as a whole. But there are different ways to interpret it.
As well.
But yeah, I think generally though, there should be a start, an end, and it should be something linking them together, Yeah. Usually the passage of time.
Yeah.
I think if you start saying, oh, I like this movie because there's like 10 different moments that are separate away from each other, that's not a scene. That's just you listing reasons why I like a movie.
Right. Well, Matt, you and I chose 3 different scenes, and we're each going to go down 3, 2, 1. So hit me with your third favorite scene of all time.
My third favorite scene. I wish I spent more time thinking about this, but I think I've landed on
a week. You do this all the time. I love it.
Yeah. I sort of landed on the car. Can you call it a car chase? I'm going to call it a car chase at the end of the first Toy Story, particularly when we lead up to the.
That's nice.
Yeah, particularly leading up to the moment where Buzz and Woody are like basically flying, and
strapped to
Buzz
the rocket.
is like, and he's like, we're flying, and like Woody's like, no, we're falling with style or whatever. Where it's kind of like just showing how the character journey and how like I love it when a movie does a callback to a line with a new meaning, where usually it's like it ends up becoming something sincere or endearing when it used to be something negative or whatever, and just shows how the characters have really grown together throughout the whole journey. And they're doing it while it's being exciting. You've got adrenaline in there, and like you're really rooting for those heroes. And I feel like it's just like one of the perfect examples of like how to successfully like do a climax.
Oh, absolutely, dude. That scene makes me smile all the time, dude. It never fails. I love it. Okay, so I'll go next with the third, right? Number 3. My third favorite scene of all time is the T-Rex escape from Jurassic Park.
Love it.
I think, honestly, in terms of spectacle, in terms of Steven Spielberg whipping out his big special effects dick and being like, look at what we can do now. It's just unrivaled. But not only that, just the lack of music, the way you get the claws on the cable wire, and then the cable wire getting ripped off, and then the leg of the goat, and then where's the goat? The lawyer bugging out to go to the toilet. Just Alan and Ian just watching on as the T-Rex just absolutely decimates the kid's car. It's just an absolutely amazing example of what we can do with special effects, a combination of special effects and practical effects. It's just absolutely just mind-boggling, dude. It's fantastic.
Inspired a generation of filmmakers as well. I think that you could say that scene did that.
100%. 100%.
Pretty great.
Absolutely. Give me a number 2.
I'm going to go with the fight between Neo and Agent Smith in the first Matrix, the subway fight.
Nice. This was my guess for your number 1. I'm actually surprised now. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so the Matrix has so many great scenes. I could name 4 scenes from that movie that could make my top 5 easily.
When we cover that as a feature presentation, I predict that episode will go for 5 hours long.
Like 5 hours, like, come on, man. It's probably going to be longer than that.
Yeah, probably.
Look, the reason I want to talk about the subway fight is it's not just the spectacle of martial art fight. It's great storytelling as well. You start off with a character where he's refusing to run from something you told, which is like mostly like you assume is certain death. Like they've spent the whole film building up, trying to get into your brain. You can't fight them. You always run. And then he finally stands up. So that's a big moment. You have a nice like cowboy western throwback with the way it's shot of them looking into each other. Then you followed by an amazing bullet time sequence, which is just coming off the tails of the bullet dodging scene before. Amazing martial art fight choreography, mixing in with like this superhero element vibe.
You know how they shot that, right? Like with the bullet time?
Yeah, they had like, it was like 270 cameras or something, maybe more, like in a circle. And they all like took, I think they were photos or video, and they just went through each one. That was before, very little CGI. I think the only thing that CGI, like the bullets and I think the background too was like green screened or some shit, right? Like it's incredible. But also like the way how the team is like watching the fight as well really throws back to like the anime influences like Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that. And then the singular best moment of it for me is when Neo falls down, he spits up blood, you think it's over, and then he gets up, he goes in like a fighting pose and the dust comes off him. And they're like, oh, what is he doing? He's beginning to believe and all that stuff. Like you're really like, oh my God, this is a hero. This is such a heroic moment. It's such a great, like pinnacle of the hero's journey. And then also I just think how the train almost hits him and he gets out of the way, and how after all that, after such an amazing scene, to end it off, You think he's finally beat Smith. He's about to leave, and Smith comes out with like a brand new body, like nothing happened. And that just really sinks in. Like it's just another way to like up the stakes. Like that scene is constantly upping the stakes in both terms of spectacle and storytelling. It is one of the best climax fights you'll ever see in an action film. And I could talk about it for another 300 years if you let me.
You'll get your opportunity. Don't worry. We'll get there before the podcast is done.
We'll have to go. We have to when we do it. We're going to have to talk about that scene shot by shot. We honestly have to.
All right. Well, my number 2 is the interrogation scene from The Dark Knight.
Why didn't I think of that? That's a good scene. That's a great scene.
Yeah, I mean, look, The Dark Knight was one of my favorite movies. I mean, was my favorite movie for a very long time, man. And I mean, this scene just showcases the powerhouse that Heath Ledger is in this film. It just, I've got no words for it, dude. I don't know if I'm actually prepared to talk about this movie yet. It's an amazing manipulation scene. Like it's absolutely amazingly well written by the Nolans, and more amazingly well acted by the actors. You know, you got Hans Zimmer's score as everything ramps up. But the thing I love about this scene is just how powerless Batman actually is against the Joker. Because on its surface, I mean, you know, it wasn't until I watched this movie and this scene that I realized. Because the whole, you know, before this, I was like, oh, the Joker's just some guy in a clown makeup, and, you know, Batman's got all this tech and all this stuff. Like, you know, he's clearly more superior physically. But actually, the Joker can take anything that Batman throws at him, and the Joker will always one-up Batman when he uses his morals against him. And this is the scene that really highlighted that for me. This is when he's just, when he can't, when he beats the Joker into submission, come to find out that the Joker doesn't have a submission. Like he will never submit. He can beat him as much as he wants, and it's just, I can't get over this scene, dude. This is one of my favorite scenes of all time. And it's just,
the nothing you can do to me line as well is so great.
Absolutely. And you know, this is of course like the second time he hits him, he's got that laugh, and it's just like, oh God. But not only that, just the way this scene kicks off, you know, you got Gary Oldman's character, you know, Commissioner Gordon, he's like, I'm going to go out and get a coffee. And then boom, there he is, you know, the lights turn on and Batman's there. And it's just like, fuck. You know,
it's what does he say? It's like, oh, another good cop, bad cop. Not exactly. Like, what a line. What a line.
It's fantastic. And, you know, this scene, like, borders on, like, R-rating territory when he just bashes his head in the glass. Oh, it's just, It's fantastic. This is the most brutal you've seen Batman as well, like, in a very long time. So, yeah, it's great, man. Christopher Nolan, hats off to you, sir.
If I can just add as well to that scene, it's such a fucking good scene. The great pick, man. The reveal of Batman, that's like he's right behind him. That gets me every time I watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it, but it still happens to surprise me in like my 10th, 12th, 50th like watch. It still gets me every time. And that's saying a lot, because I would say a scene that's close to being maybe as good as that is the scene with the Joker when he does the magic pencil trick.
Right.
Like the way he walks in and he intimidates all the gangsters. I would say that's I would say that's up there too, because like I know we had sort of technically met the Joker before that, but like that is one of the best reveals of a character like I think I've ever seen in any movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Ever.
Absolutely.
That is such a great pick, man.
There's a reason we haven't touched that movie yet as feature presentation, man. Like, you know, we're just not confident enough yet to go anywhere near that movie. You know, if you couldn't hear that in my voice as I flailed around trying to explain that scene, then you 100% know we're not confident in covering that movie yet. All right, man. Let me guess your number one. Right? You gotta
get it.
You gotta give me one hint.
It's another animated film.
Oh, fuck. Is it a Pixar?
And it's by far my favorite scene of all time.
Okay, is it Toy Story 3?
Nope.
Okay,
Not from the Toy Story franchise.
I'll never get it then. Hit me.
It is the montage from Up.
Nice. Good pull.
Makes me cry every time I see it. Still, I cry watching it. It speaks to me on a personal level. It just shows me like... Makes me think a bit about my my grandparents as well, just to be honest with you. And it's just like the way that you see this couple who meet each other, they fall in love, they grow old together, and she like passes away and he's still like there. And with all the way the music just entwines with it, it is some of the most beautiful like piece of cinema I've ever seen. I often say Up is my favorite movie of all time next to The Matrix. But when I'm saying that, I'm kind of lying because I just mean that scene. Like I love the movie Up, but I don't love it anywhere as much as I love like everything else in that movie. I don't love it anywhere near as much as I love that fucking montage. It is amazing. It's a masterpiece. That.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the only scene I remember from that movie. Like that might be one of my least watched Pixar movies, but I absolutely remember that scene for sure.
That's how good it is, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good pick for number one, dude. I love it.
What's your number one?
You got a guess?
Is it from Sicario?
It is from Sicario.
I haven't seen
so
Sicario,
predictable?
so yeah.
You haven't seen Sicario, dude.
I think I've seen parts of it, but I haven't seen the whole movie.
Okay, there is a scene in Sicario that.
Oh wait, can I guess? I think I know it.
Yeah,
it might be the one scene I do remember. Is it the scene where? I'm gonna fuck this up, but I think there's like a traffic jam.
Yeah,
and the cars are
that's the
bumper
one.
to bumper.
That's the one.
And then wait, let me try and remember it, and like then you can correct.
I'm not
me.
going to listen to you.
That'll be fun.
I'm not going to listen to you butcher this. I'm not going to listen to. So this is the border crossing scene. To set things up for you, the FBI, together with a couple of members of this. Together with the federales, they're going to go to Mexico, south of the border, to pick up a prisoner and bring him back to the United States. They go into Mexico, and they pick him up, and the whole time that they've got their heads on a swivel, they've got their guns up, they're very alert because they feel that they might get ambushed while they're here in Mexico, and you got Josh Brolin's character telling Kate, played by Emily Blunt. And he's just like, don't worry, if they try anything, it'll be at the border. So they get to the border crossing. So from Mexico to the United States, they get into a traffic jam, and it's totally quiet. The tension here, dude, I can't even begin to explain to you the tension. My palms are sweating just telling this story. But the way Denis Villeneuve shoots this, the time he takes, the look in everyone's eyes, the way they actually handle their weaponry is 100% accurate. They actually show this scene to military personnel in training. This is one of the most realistic kind of like firefights in movie history. Like the way they move, the way they the way they fan out along the highway here. It's just breathtaking, and it's just a scene that will honestly stick with me when I'm fucking dead in the ground, dude. It is a masterclass in filmmaking and tension building. I've never seen anything like it. But yeah, that's my favorite scene of all time, dude. The border crossing scene. Sometimes I'll just honestly just hit it up on YouTube. Like I'm just like, I need to see this scene again. Yeah.
First of all, great pick. I do remember that scene. I think I've just seen that scene. I don't know if I've seen the movie, but I know I've seen the scene, and I know exactly what you mean about tension. I just want to give ourselves a pat in the back and just say how surprised I am that neither of us picked anything from Marvel
or Star Wars.
Yeah, like obviously the one that comes to a lot of people's mind is Luke, I am your father. That is an incredible scene. But Marvel have had so many great moments. Like we just had Endgame, but like I would think of like things like fucking I Am Iron Man and shit like that.
Yeah, that's
a franchise that knows how to reward its viewers,
Yeah, absolutely. While you're at it, let's go through the poll options, because I did put up a poll and I put in a few kind of like popular scenes that maybe people might have chosen. So here's the ones that didn't get a vote and were not in the running actually. So the boulder scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is the opening scene, pretty iconic.
Amazing.
Yeah. Here's Johnny, right, from The Shining, iconic as fuck. Ride of the Valkyries, probably the most iconic scene from Apocalypse Now. The Bill Clay scene from Die Hard, absolutely incredible scene. Ezekiel 25:17 from Pulp Fiction. I Am Iron Man from Avengers Endgame, of course. On Your Left from Avengers Endgame, of course. I Am Iron Man from Iron Man. Then you got the rain-soaked escape from the Shawshank Redemption. You Shall Not Pass from Fellowship of the Ring. The bullet time on the rooftop, which is different to your pick, Matt, on the Matrix from the Matrix.
Which would be a more popular pick.
Yeah,
like,
I went for the more popular one. Yeah. You got the horsehead scene from The Godfather, pretty iconic. The opening scene from Inglourious Bastards. Man, this was my number 4 pick. If I was to extend on my list. The chestburster scene from Alien, also up there, way up there. The USS Indianapolis scene from Jaws, also way up there for me, dude. The way he tells his story is just absolutely heartbreaking and just so memorable. The iconic shower stabbing scene from Psycho, super iconic. And then we get to the scenes that actually got a vote and were in the running. Tied for third place, we have a few movies that were tied for third place. Stopping the Train in Spider-Man 2, that was added by Carlos. Thank you for voting, Carlos. Dude, that is iconic as fuck.
It is.
Probably the best
100%.
scene in that trilogy, right?
Yeah. Actually, no. What am I saying? Yeah. Of course. Hell yeah.
Absolutely. Patrick Harrington, of course, added a Red Dawn scene. Jed and Matt's last stand. Sorry, Patrick, I still have not seen Red Dawn. I know. Kill me, right? The helicopter rescue from Superman the movie, added by Jose Rivera. Thanks, Jose, for voting. Right? That's pretty awesome.
That is a classic scene.
Yeah. Hell is Coming to Breakfast from Outlaw Josie Wales. This was added by Daniel Falch. Sorry, Daniel. I don't think anyone's heard of this movie. Have you heard of this movie? I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm sorry.
I don't think so.
I love you, Daniel, but damn. We got the Tears in the Rain sequence from Blade Runner, right? Rutger Hauer's famous speech. That got 1 vote. The Copacabana from Goodfellas, pretty iconic. The coin toss in the gas station from No Country for Old Men. And the I Am Your Father sequence from a scene from The Empire Strikes Back. Iconic as fuck.
Wait, and is that just third place?
That's third place.
Fucking hell.
I know. Tied for second place, Boromir's death from Fellowship of the Ring. You know what? I fucking agree, man. That scene is absolutely heartbreaking and just epic in all the right ways, man. It's so...
What scene's that?
So it's the scene... Do you remember when they're in the forest, kind of like towards the end of the film, and the Uruk-hai are chasing them, and you got Sean Bean's character who, at this point, he's kind of gone a bit mad. He's trying to go after the ring. Do you remember this? He gets hit with the arrows.
Oh, wow. It's been so long since I've seen it. Yeah. I remember that now. Yeah,
so
actually, that is a good scene. Yeah,
so good. And here's one that absolutely cracks my top 10: the Normandy landing sequence in Saving Private Ryan. This is
of course,
huge.
Right?
Hey,
huge. Of course, it's a no-brainer.
Of course, it's a no-brainer. It's Steven Spielberg at his greatest. It's just absolutely epic. And I think what escaped ran away with the votes. By far, number 1 is the T-Rex escape from Jurassic Park, right? Goddamn.
Yeah.
How can you go wrong? How can you go wrong?
Wow, I thought Pulp Fiction would get more love, honestly.
I thought Pulp Fiction would be up there too. I was actually surprised that Endgame's I Am Iron Man didn't get any votes as well. But
were there any more scenes that came to mind that you were tempted to throw in there or tempted to mention?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a few, right? I mean, Back to the Future, where we're going, we don't need roads. That's a massive one. Terminator 2, right? Take your pick. Probably the truck chase for me in the canals.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a few from Terminator 2 you can pick.
Yeah. Probably for me, it's probably the truck chase. What else?
For me, a few more come to mind. This is a cheesy as fuck one, but Free Willy when he jumps over the
course,
thing.
Yeah.
That's to me that was big. 8 Mile when B Rabbit throws the mic at Papa Doc and just says tell his people something they don't know about me, and then the guy just chokes. That was epic.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then the first phone call in Scream 1 with Drew Barrymore.
That's a good pull.
That was almost my number 3 just because it's so iconic. And what's even crazier is she dies in the opening scene, and they went so hard to convince people in the trailers, promotion, everything. People thought she was going to be the main character, and she dies 15 minutes into the movie.
Absolutely.
In such an amazing, iconic scene too. Like, fuck.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's more I can think of.
Oh
as
no,
well.
dude! I can keep going. Like, I mean, Deathly Hallows Part 2, where Harry kills Voldemort. I mean, come on. Gladiator. Are you not entertained? You know, like it's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we could go on forever, man. But I mean, like this was intentionally a tough one that I chose. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna make people like wriggle in their seats a little bit and make a definitive decision. So yeah, that about does it, right?
That was fun, man.
Yeah,
that was really fun.
Why don't you close us out, Matt?
All right. Well, we hope you guys had as much fun as we did. But that's it for us today on Midnight Double Feature. It's been an upcoming attractions episode where we talk about movie news, reviews, and we just hang out with you guys and talk about the MDF game and what our question of the week is. If you want to take part of that, make sure you join the after party. What's the after party, Matt? I'm glad you asked, invisible person. The after party is a Facebook community group that you should join. Just type in the after party Midnight Double Feature on Facebook and you can find us and be our BFF. You can also like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to us with your podcast app, whether it be on iTunes or Spotify, whatever it may be. We are not on TikTok. And then make sure, if you ever want to email us.
We will never be on TikTok.
Yeah. But I think our email, it's midnightdoublefeature@gmail.com. If you want to send us an email or just talk to us in the after party or send us a message on Facebook. But I think that's it for today.
That is it
coming
for today.
Up next. Yeah, coming up next for the next, not upcoming attractions, feature presentation where we pick a movie and dissect it scene by scene and talk about it, a nice long episode. We're going to cover Upgrade, which is a fucking awesome movie. So, wait, is that right? Is Upgrade next?
It is Upgrade, yeah. Directed by Lee Whannell. If you're into RoboCop, if you're into action B movies with a lower budget that are actually pretty damn fucking clever, be sure to tune into that.
Highly recommend it. I love that movie.
And you're on that episode.
I am. Not very often you'll hear me on a feature presentation, so enjoy it while you get it.
Enjoy it, bitch.
Are you enjoying it? Nah. Anyways, that's it for us today. I'm Matt, and that's Zoheb, and we'll see you laters.